Fijian Rugby World Cup squad is out for 2023, folks. The squads are coming out thick and fast. The squad's actually been out for a couple of days. I'm only just kind of getting to look at it now. The Argentinian one's out. Wallabies one's coming out. Like I said, it's kind of feast time for us rugby fans. We'll go through the Fijian squad pretty quickly, their fixtures and kind of who's been omitted. And you guys can let us know your thoughts on how the Fijians might go. Remembering that, boy, did they look good in the Pacific Nations Cup this year. They beat Japan, they beat Tonga, they beat Samoa, all pretty handily. And whilst being able to switch up their team regularly and not really seeming to kind of have that much drop-off. Like when the All Blacks played the Wallabies in that final game, they switched up their team a lot, and there was a lot of talk about how that was a big mistake because it ruined the cohesion. These guys switched up the team 3 weeks in a row and still looked really, really sharp. So, I don't know, but they are in good form, and they are certainly in a pool that they could do really, really well in. Hookers, Ikanivere, Matavesi, Togiatama. I think that's pretty stock standard. I mean, Ikanivere has been an absolute try machine from close range. You need to watch that guy. I know Matavesi, in terms of kind of like age and international caps, is the more experienced guy, but man, Ikanivere has been phenomenal. Props, Doge, Mawi, Ravai, Tagi, Tawake, and Koroiduadua. He's a debutant. He was a late addition to the squad, old Koroiduadua. He plays for the Drua. I think he can prop both sides of the scrum, but they have taken 6 props. So, like kind of the All Blacks, they are, and I think England, they're kind of relatively well stocked in that area. Other teams will be taking 5, but they've decided to take 6. You know, with the likes of Ndogia and Mawi and Ravai, I feel like these guys are going to have a pretty good platform as long as they can get that. There's no reason why they can't be competitive against pretty much any team, realistically. Locks, Mayanavanua, Nasilasila, and then you've got Tagitagivalu and Cirikidaveta, who are kind of both lock loose forwards. Nasilasila is a proper line-out machine. You know, he's playing for the Drua. He's probably going to partner Mayanavanua, but then Cirikidaveta is proper athletic. He's been doing some good work from the bench when he's come on, so it's kind of a bit of a changed generation in terms of the way the Fijians are picking these guys now, because I mean, all of these guys, 25 years old, 23 years old, like Tagitagivalu at 27 is kind of the oldest of the second rowers. So a lot of teams, their locks are late 20s, early 30s. The Fijian guys are relatively young, and to be honest, the squad itself is overall pretty young. Loose forwards, Botia, Diranalangi, Mata, Mira, and Tuisue. There's a little bit more age and experience in there with the likes of a 34-year-old Botia. But man, like, I was looking at the squad thinking, like, who's the fetcher? It's Botia. I've seen him enough times for La Rochelle to know that guy can get over the ball like an absolute demon, and it's really, really hard to remove him when he gets over the ball. Diranalangi, for the Drua, been playing for Fiji in the kind of recent weeks, very athletic. He's still a young man, 24 years old. Sevens background means you cannot give him any space. Mata also proved his worth with his carrying game, his offloading game at number 8. And then Tuisue is a pretty big unit as well. So, I mean, it's an average age of 27 for the forwards, which is, I think, the youngest we have seen so far. It may be the youngest we see of any of the squads, to be honest, because there's a lot of guys, who are younger than 25 in the squad, which is not that common. But as I mentioned, there's still some veterans in there as well, the likes of a Botia, the likes of a Matavesi and whatnot. So, it's hopefully a pretty good balance. Backs is obviously where all the excitement comes in with Fiji. Levani, Matawalu, and Kurivoli are the 3 halfbacks. All 3 guys, contracted to the Drua. So, Levani is perhaps the kind of leading candidate there, but whoever steps in, it's going to be dangerous because all these guys have proved that they can certainly snipe from the base. I think both halfbacks got tries in that game against Japan, the starter and the bench guy. Munson Teller is a big call at 10, so there's no Vola, which is maybe an interesting call. But Muntz, in those couple of games that he played, looked steady. And for a long time, it's kind of been that one area where you thought, like, I mean, obviously the forwards as well. Like, you need big props who can scrummage, and the Fiji guys have got that now. But you feel like if Fiji had like a Dan Carter, a Johnny Wilkinson, like whoever, like a world-class 10, which is something that a lot of the sides outside Tier 1 kind of sometimes struggle to find. You feel like they could take it up to another level. Muntz has been, like, I think, just asked to do a real simple job and just to kind of feed the backline. He's not really done anything too dramatic. He's just doing his core role, and he's doing that well, which is maybe the game plan that they need to go with. So, yeah, I think he can do... If he can do his core role well and set up the guys outside him, then that's going to put the Fijian guys in a better position to win some games. Masi, Nayathulevu, who is captain, Randradra, Ravovo, Tuisue, big midfield. Big experience there as well. Nayathulevu was 33, Randradra was 31. I mean, Tuisue was almost 30, he's 29. Oh, that's dangerous. That's among the best midfields in the world, isn't it? I mean, I know Randradra kind of hasn't been able to recapture some of his form, but you know he's class and could do it anytime. And Ravovo for the Drua has been dangerous as well, even if he's maybe the least kind of big reputation player of those guys. I mean, Tuisue sat down one of the Tongan players when he played. He is just such a wrecking ball. Yeah. Caleb Muntz just needs to get these guys the ball, basically. Yeah, direct the team around the park and feed the backs. Outside backs, Habosi, Waningolo, Ravutamanda, and Drosese Mangala. Interestingly, of all these guys, I feel like Ravutamanda has been maybe the most exciting, at least in that Pacific Nations Cup. He absolutely recaptured his form for the Fijian and Drua, took to test rugby like a duck to water. So I'm really excited to see how he goes. Haven't seen Habosi play for a while, but I know a year ago for the Drua, he was absolutely cutting things up. Magala at fullback, even though he plays more kind of centre for his club, or potentially draw assists there. Yeah. Some of the guys who've missed out, I mentioned Vola. He's kind of been the 10 for quite some time for Fiji. Played in that last game against Japan, but has not been called upon to make the squad. Potitu is the guy who got smashed into by Labaskakni in that game against Japan with that head knock. Maybe didn't do him any good. Seta Tamanivalu still going through rehab, so not fit to make it. Pasiliato, he had some issues with the coaching team. There was a little bit of a question mark, was it his club? But then apparently it was an internal coaching issue. So maybe there's a bit of fallout there. Rotuni Yarawa, the veteran, is not in there. I don't know if he's injured or if it's just a kind of selection thing, going for a slightly younger side. Tamani misses out, which is pretty brutal. But yeah, man, I think there's so many game breakers in this Fijian side. And the fact that 18 of these guys play for the Ndrua means the cohesion levels are naturally going to be high. Maybe that is why they are able to switch teams as readily as they do and don't see the same drop-off, because the core of the squad are kind of playing for the same team anyway. Like the vast majority of the back line, except for like Nayathulevu, Randradra, Tuisue, Waningolo, and Magala, are pretty much all Drua players. So yeah, that's like the Argentinians had with the Jaguares, although in the last World Cup they kind of bombed out despite that extra cohesion. France and England await Fiji at the end of the month for a couple of warm-up games, and then straight into the two most important games for Fiji, Wales and Australia. You only need to win one of those, with Wales still rebuilding and likewise Australia. Then obviously you need to hold off Georgia. Like, it would be brutal to beat Wales or Australia and then lose to Georgia, wouldn't it? But I mean, Fiji tend to have the wood over Georgia, but you can't take that game for granted. And then Portugal. So would it be possible for Fiji to get out of this pool? Absolutely. Some people are picking it as a kind of not an underdog story, that it should be happening with the way that Wales and Australia have been going. But yeah, we will see, man. They've certainly got the talent. There is no doubt about that. Ben Volavola seems to be maybe the biggest omission. Him and Tamani, perhaps, maybe Potitu, but with that head knock, like I said, maybe it was kind of beyond the coach's control. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts on how you think the Fijians will go in their pool. And yeah, we look forward to more squads coming out. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.